Okay, I searched on the internet, on YouTube for ages, trying to find a how-to guide to do the timing belt on a 2003 A4 2.5 turbo diesel V6. I found nothing, so I've decided I'll make one myself. I've already stripped the front end, so take the bumper off, take the valance off. As you can see, make sure you drain the coolant before you do that. There's no need to degas the air conditioning. You can take the front air conditioning radiator off, and with a bit of jiggling you can just tuck it underneath, still connected, so that'll save you a lot of hassle. Take the clips off the covers for the timing belt, and then you'll come down here and there'll be another plastic cover here. This is the viscous fan coupling, and the plastic belt cover goes behind this coupling here. I've struggled to be able to undo the coupling itself, so I've decided to leave it in situ. What I had to do, because of the cover itself actually sits behind the viscous coupling, behind that. So as you can see there, I've cut a little slot so I can slide it off the coupling itself, and that can stay in place. Next thing you need to do, loosen this nut here, take this auxiliary belt off, and then there's a 17mm hole there, so you need a 17mm Allen key. Put it into there and lever upwards. That'll release this tensioner, and you could take this belt off as well, which does all the other the power steering, the alternator, and a few other bits and bobs. So take that off. Once you've got that off, you'll see there's 8 holes in there. There are 8 of these bolts which fit in there, and these bolts are a H6 hexagon bolt. And this, the crank shaft here is a 24mm 12-point socket. Put the socket onto here, put your H6 into the nuts there, holding this, undo those, and then this pulley will release. Just put that to one side. Then you have these 2 Allen key bolts there, and these 3 here. There's one there, and it's a bit fiddly, but if you can see, just behind the pulley for the fan, there's another one there. Undo all of those, and this 13mm bolt here, and this whole unit, along with the viscous coupling, will just come off. There's no need to undo these pulleys. That'll all come off in one go. One thing you do need to pay attention to is that your secondary timing belt tensioner is there. Don't worry about that. Just make certain that these marks on the pulley and on the casing line up, and that's for both the top pulleys. If you've got marks, that is. Hopefully you've got marks from the previous mechanic. If not, I'll go on to explain that in a moment. So you've got the marks there, and again the marks on this pulley and the marks on the top, they both need to line up. And when they do line up, you'll find that this small hole here will be right at the top, and you'll be able to see straight through. It will go straight through the pulley and into the actual engine casing. So if you put a drift through that hole, that'll lock that pulley in place. And once it's locked in place, then you can start undoing the tensioner for the secondary timing belt, which once it's locked, that's not an issue. This and start taking that part off. I'm just going to pause here and I'll pick it up in a moment. So as you can see, I've now got the engine top dead center. So as this pulley lines up, this pulley lines up, and as I mentioned before, straight through this hole you can put the drift in, and that is now locked in place. You're not able to turn it. Best way to get it top dead center is rotate this with your wrench clockwise until these marks come past, and then you can rotate this anti-clockwise and put it back into place. Because of the way the engine works, when you rotate it clockwise, it jumps straight past those marks, so you need to put it into reverse, rotate it gently counterclockwise so that they line up, and then you have the engine top.
You also have
this hole. So if you rotate that clockwise until this, not the smaller of these two holes, is just past top center, and then rotate it back, put your drift in there, and then with a paint pen you can make your own marks. That's the best way to do it. Again, I'm going to pause it here and I'll pick up in a moment. I'm going to undo these bolts and then I shall pick it up with this removed. So once you've removed the casing here, this is what you're left with. As I said, this is your secondary timing belt. Don't worry about loosening that off, because obviously this pulley is held in place by the primary timing belt, like that, and this pulley is held in place with your drift that you've put through the hole there. You are going to want to pay attention though when you put your when you put the front cover back on, that the tensioner is going to tighten that underneath. So you're going to want the tension at the top already, so that your tensioner can just take up the slack at the bottom. Otherwise that might throw it slightly out. Something you've got to be very careful about. So as I said, this is your timing belt setup. It's a 207 tooth belt, so it might be worth counting that before you take your car apart, because you're going to be really upset if you get this far and your belt's too short. Okay, so this is your primary tensioner, held in place by a damper here. You can either replace it with a brand new one when you do your timing belt, or you can reuse the old one. But if you're going to reuse the old one, you're going to need a press to stand this in and push the damper back down, and you're going to want a pin that you can put through this hole and through that hole to hold it in place. So when it comes to dismantling it, you've got another Allen key bolt here. Undo that, this plastic cover will come off, then you can have access to your damper there. So you're going to want to take that damper off so that you can loosen this tensioner, and that will allow you to get your old timing belt off. You're also going to want to replace this tensioner and this tensioner here. And then it's quite straightforward pretty much. As long as you keep your marks central, exactly where they should be, keep your drift in there so that is locked, you can take everything off over the top of it. If you really want to, you can undo these bolts here. Again, the drift will hold it in place while you undo those. Then this front plate comes off and you're left with just the pulley behind it. You can do that, it's optional. I was able to get the belt off without having to do that. Again, when you come to put the new timing belt on, you're going to want to make sure that this side is all tense and that this side is slightly loose, so that you can put the tensioner on. The way I did it was to centralize that and move this pulley half, so that this mark here is halfway between those marks. Put as much tension on the belt as I can. Keep that tension in place as I feed it round here, because then once you release that damper and it pushes the pulley up, it will pull that wheel back into line, and then it is all set for you. That is the best way to do it, but it's entirely up to you. Your water pump is behind here. You've got these bolts here. They're all 10mm bolts, except for this one here and this one here, which are these two small bolts, and they go through these holes here when you put the casing back on. I hope you found this video helpful. There was nothing else out there when I looked, so I would assume that this is the only thing that you're going to find on YouTube other than a manual to do it. But I haven't been able to find a Haynes manual to do this job either. Good luck. Thank you for watching.